Hi all, right, welcome back. DJ at Saipan. This is part 9, I believe. So yeah, we eventually completed the game turn. So that was good. Oh yeah, I still didn't look up the bit about the PM game turn, didn't I? I was talking about that. I took 2 or 3 notes. Hang on a sec. Yeah, there's always something to be discussing, Grant, isn't there? The PM game turn, right? I'm not sure about that. There was one other thing I forgot to mention from the last time. I've got written down here. If an infantry unit gets a free action and attacks stacked with an LVT, does the LVT get to attack also and add its +1? And then yeah, that also comes up with. I noticed I'd done this. Where was the attack? I get the feeling it was down here, and I took a note of it on the part 8 at the 31st minute mark. No, sorry, it's further on. 48-minute mark. I've got the way I've been doing things. The LVT here would not contribute as 1 strength, as it would not have been granted a free action. So odds would have been only 2 to 1, and the Japanese unit would be disrupted. And now I'll put these in the header to, well, I should really be dealing with that now, Grant, shouldn't I? I've not completely watched part 8, and that's the thing. I'm getting the chance to do a wee bit more. So, and I'll tell you where it was, because it moved from here. Oh, that means we're not going to be in here. Well, I probably need to know the answer. I mean, it could be that this is right. I don't know. See, the thing was, this stack attacked here, and I counted 11 strength. And remember, I counted, we've got 11, which is going to round up. Half of 11 is going to round up to 6, because this isn't a woods hex. Whereas technically, I don't think we can count the LVT underneath, but I'm still wondering about if they should be allowed to do that. And also, I mean, I don't know. Martin's mentioned a couple of comments. This will be about part 7. And I know we're jumping away from what I'm talking about here, but anyway, I've not been looking at that I could use that 1 strength. Now, don't get me wrong, if I gave this stack an action to attack that hex, I would have included everything in the hex. However, this HQ unit, to me, my belief, only gives this the free action. It does not give the LVT, which is meant to be attached to it in some kind of way. So there's possibly a bit of debate about that. But it got me thinking also when Martin brought up, he pointed out 2 things to me when I was talking about movement under fire and preservation moves. One of the ones was I was talking about making a preservation move with a disrupted unit, and it was moving in an intense field of fire. You can't do that. I know that. I read it out, but forgot about it, so I made the mistake there. The other bit was he wasn't sure about the fact that it mattered if I was moving, if it was a disrupted unit in a beach landing hex that was adjacent to a disrupted Japanese unit. It was one of the ones up there, I think. And I wasn't sure, but I think that comes up in part 8 as well. I think I talk about that further down here. I replied that to him. But the other one, the one that sort of relevant to what I'm saying here, was he mentions that movement under fire, the hits that are given out with movement under fire, they're not like the normal hits. Now, I need to get... It probably just says it's 1 unit of your choice takes the hit. If a stack of units is conducting the movement under fire, the player is free to assign the step loss and disruption to any 1 unit. So it doesn't specifically have to be, which, looking at, it's when I'm talking about this one here, and about making movement under fire between here and here, and having to check 3 different colours, which seems guaranteed it's something that's going to take a hit. But when I'm talking about this one, he says that, he says that you could pick the LVT. And I didn't think about that. I'm thinking because it's got 4 steps. In fact, I even mentioned it's got 4 steps. So maybe that's where he's picked that one up and added it there. But my understanding still, I think I've talked about this, about the possibility preservation moves still just means it's the infantry unit. I don't think I get to bring the LVT with me. But then why would Martin have talked about that? And that starts making me wonder that, is it possible these LVTs are attached? I don't think so. I think you're trying to make things up there. I think if I was to make that as a preservation move, it would just be the infantry unit that moved, and I still think it's a suicidal move. However, if I was to give them both an action to move, then they would move movement under fire into that hex. They would more than likely take infiltration fire, and then I would leave that back in that hex, disrupted where step was, and he would be in there. However, maybe there is something to say. If not that, then possibly maybe that does get a free action. I mean, it doesn't say that battalion headquarters give LVTs free actions. It only says that it's only infantry companies from their battalion and also 1 other infantry company from the same regiment. So I think I made that mistake there. This unit would not have withdrawn. It was 1 on top. Now, I think, because the odds would have been just 2 to 1, so he would be back in this hex disrupted, and I would have to move this unit back. Well, you're going to have to sort that now, Grant, really, aren't you? Before you start the next turn. Yeah, it's just me. I've just taken note of it while watching. I've not watched it all through yet. Okay. The other one I noticed was this hex here. Mind you, looking at it there. When I was looking at it on the, maybe it's not. See, I was looking at it on the recording. It looked far clearer, but see when I'm looking at it on the map here from now, these look like black buildings in there in this hex. Alright, can I zoom in any further? That's as far as I can get. I mean, this hex is clearly black buildings. Ooh, mind you, it's got buildings, it's got some of them that look grey. Why? Look at this. Okay, there's the showing you buildings, right? And you can see that there's a black building there and a black building there and a sort of grey building in between, right? Now, this is for movement cost and tells you what it costs. Sorry, that one there. Movement cost. And it tells you the terrain is the other terrain in the hex there. Okay, and there's the buildings. Like I say, there's 2 black ones and 1 grey one. So when we come across to, this is the terrain combat effects chart. Buildings. Black buildings, double Japanese unit strengths. So it's saying there that it's specifically saying that black buildings. Now, yeah, I can see some grey buildings as well. Hang on then. So zooming back in there where we are, I mean, these are clearly black buildings. This looks like a city that's kind of populated with lots of black buildings. I would say that there's some 1, 2, 3 wee grey buildings in there. Now this looks like streets, but they kind of look grey. So I think I'm okay with this one actually. But I'll tell you what, when I was watching back the video, and you might see this yourself, these look the same colour as them. Well, that's what I was seeing, but as I'm looking at it now on the map, they do look different, and I think that's why I never noticed them initially. So I don't think this benefit, because I was going to add in the header that I thought these counted as having black buildings. We were lucky though, because the odds were good enough to still get the 3-1 odds, I think. So I think, but I do think that's not, because after seeing the description of the icon that shows you the buildings, and it shows 2 black and a grey one, and then it talks about black ones being the double strength one, and these look grey. These wee ones in here are obviously black, so I'm assuming that one works. I mean, this one clearly works. That's yeah, fine. But it's, I mean, without moving hexes about on the edge, even looking up further inland, it's really only these hexes in here that look like they've got buildings. I mean, even as we move further inland, there's nothing. Even up beside actually no, hang on, there's a hex, an airfield hex that's got loads of black buildings, yeah. But apart from that, you know, there's 1 or 2 scattered about. So I think we're okay with that one after all. So I'll scrap that from my comments. However, yeah, I'm gonna have to either fix this or try and get an answer to the question that I'm gonna have to say that this can't get a free action. Although it's been confirmed by the designer that they will attack along with an infantry company. I'll see, there you go. I mean, maybe. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna ask that question now. It sounds a bit a daft question. I mean, it clearly states, but then, well, there's a few things that are throwing us wobblies here, aren't there? An undisrupted infantry battalion HQ provide. This is providing command. Grant. No, we need free actions. Infantry units that are stacked with an infantry headquarters unit. This is what gets a free action. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna look at the answer again to how the LVTs were given their 1 attack. How was it worded? Because I want to say it sounded like it was along the lines of you were allowed to include 1 in an attack. I mean, does that count there? I don't know. It feels like the way it's written in the rules, no, because I would need to pay an action for it to do it. Yeah, I think I can only think that way, really, but maybe I'll go and ask the daft question. Right, hi all. I had cut the video at this point last night, and then run out of time. I know it was kind of a bit in the middle of things, but kind of glad I did. I think that's when I went and popped out the question, actually, my latest question, titled LVTs on BGG. Yeah, I kind of wanted to let a bit of time settle here to let somebody come and respond to my answer to the response by telling me where I'm maybe making a fool of myself, or why I'm not grasping things. I was kind of hopeful Martin might, but then that was between late last night and today, and there's not an awful lot of time went by, and I understand people have families and work and sleep that they need to do. And I've got time to play today. Yeah, a heads up before it starts, I might put something in the header of this. Well, this is obviously, I'm 13 minutes in here, haven't I? Because I did start recording a part. So since then, this question's been asked and answered, and I've replied sort of frustratingly because, yeah, I'm like, I'm reading that and I'm saying, and I'm just wanting somebody. I even ask, I say, you know, I'm happy to be called out to be daft, foolish. Can you point this to me in the rule book, or can you say whether this is clear? Because even none of, I mean, okay, Joe's initial response said this obviously needs clarifying. So fair enough, maybe it's not there, but I'll tell you what. If none of this is in the rule book, come on. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I was hoping I'm not going to make an even bigger fool of myself by starting recording here and going over all this. I thought somebody catch me in time and tell me where it all is in the rule book and how I should be understanding this, because, you know, you're making daft assumptions or something. Well, I'm not. I don't think I'm making any kind of assumptions. I'm trying to read the rule book and do it by the rule, do things by the rules. Anyway, so yeah, I asked the question. It was quite late last night. Again, Joe came back pretty quick. I even commented at the end saying thanks for your swift response. Martin followed up his answer with the same question that he'd asked, tagged on to my last question. And so sorry for laughing, Martin. I'm sure you kind of find it, well, you probably don't find it funny, but Joe doesn't seem to be looking at any of Martin's questions, and you know, I've even added at the end, I've said please try and answer Martin's follow-up question. The other questions he has asked is he is a far more experienced DDAC gamer than myself, and I get the feeling he would like to get on with his game, because he's looking for answers that are more than likely further on than what I've got. You know, the speed that I go up. What was it again? A Scandinavian art movie or something? I'll need to look that up, find out what that's all about. Anyway, yeah, so I kind of feel sorry for him. Well, not just that, I want to know, I'm sure these questions will be relevant. I may have asked some daft questions in the past, well, I'm pretty sure Martin's questions are all kind of worthy of asking. Sorry, Martin, I know you don't like all that, but anyway. So, okay. Well, 4 minutes in, you've still not talked about what the question is and what the answers are and what's bothering you about all this crap. So I've just uploaded part 8 and put some comments in the headers basically about, this is probably going to start, well, in the about the 13-minute mark. I think it was about 13 minutes. Well, whatever it is, you'll see, or you'll have seen if you're watching this just now. That I'm going to be discussing this. There was also another couple of comments, so while they're fresh in my mind, we talked about the black buildings bit, didn't we? And we talked about when we looked at it again. It doesn't actually look that black. They don't actually look that black. They look like the grey version. Yeah, well, you went through that, Grant, not that long ago, I think. Obviously, this is next thing in day. There was a couple other things that I was going to put in the header that are pretty much irrelevant now, I think, because of the answer that I've got to my question. So, there's one good thing about it, and I'm not saying it's all a bad thing. I'm just frustrated that I've not seen it in the rules. I can read a rule book, or, well, again, waiting for somebody to call me out and saying, well, you've not read page whatever, rule such and such, Grant, because that tells you exactly what you're going on about. It could be, it maybe is there, maybe isn't as there. Admittedly, last night I didn't scour right through the complete rule book. I looked at a lot of bits, so I tell you, I looked at all the bits I was talking about. I think I did. Anyway, you know, I was talking about this unit wouldn't have withdrawn after all, because I added the strength of this, and I felt I shouldn't have been adding the strength because these were getting a free action. Well, we'll get back to that. It is the case that you can add that strength, and this is part of my frustration and an answer to my question. So it does look like I won't need to adjust that situation, and that unit can stay where it is as well. So that is good. The one other one, right, where was it then? Or was it that one? It was the one that attacked from range. I think that's further down. It was the red position here. Was it? Looks like an engineer's went in there as well. That was like a bigger stack. Yeah, it was this X here. Now, this was woods. And I realised it was woods at first. But however, I was attacking with this, which was 10. And I realised it was woods. And the reason, you know, because I thought, well, 10, that's going to be at half to 5. So then I brought in this. There's the engineer. And the tank. Sorry, the LVTA. I gave them a command to attack as well. Now, the infantry being at range and not adjacent gets halved. Its firepower gets halved. So that would get rounded up, 3.5 up to 4. The 2 from the LVTA does not get halved. So that was 6 strength. So I then went, right, okay, that's 6, and then I added on the 10, and then I kept it at 16. And it then should have been half to 8. So, right, I need to check. I think the result was the same because I thought I looked, but I'm not 100% sure now. So give me a second. Right, yeah, I went back and checked, and it was. Well, I've turned them upside down now, but it was a 2 strength. What's the word with the red dot? Keep what it says supplemental. Don't know why. What is it again? There's a 2 strength elite detachment. Elite detachment, 2 strength. Sorry, dog in the background. Yeah, so we had 16. I counted 16, although there was some slight doubt about if I should have halved things first. I think I got that bit right. I'm pretty sure that was right. But however, that 16 should have been 8. So it should have been 8 to 2. So we were still okay. We were still at least 3 to 1 because we had the weapons. And it was an elite unit. It had nowhere to withdraw to. So it went to the Japanese reserve units pool. Is that right? Japanese elite units eliminated. No, it's the reserve units pool, isn't it? I'm just wondering if I'm putting them in the wrong box. Yeah, 8.3.2, Japanese withdrawal. Game turns 1 through 4. If the elite unit is in communication. Yeah, this is if an elite unit cannot withdraw. Yeah, it couldn't withdraw. It didn't have anywhere to withdraw to. So, game turns 1 through 4. If the elite unit is in communication, place the unit in the Japanese reserve units pool. Yeah, I was right. Elite units out of communication are placed in the Japanese elite units eliminated box. So, then, well, there's a box for the Japanese elite units that are eliminated. I don't know if something can happen to them still, maybe. But there wasn't a box for like any other normal unit just getting eliminated. So I've just set it aside just now in case there is somewhere that I should be putting it, but I don't see where that could be. Right, okay, Grant, let's move on because there's probably going to be a bit to go on about here. Okay, so yeah, that was at the woods. One other one, and well, this might have got me asking the question, cause and I might. The other thing is I might be making some adjustments here, and I know I've landed the engineers, but this new information that I've got is kind of huge, like I say, so I may well be making some adjustments. Again, there's not really new information as such, so as long as I do it now. I think I was talking about this guy, and when I was discussing the fact about preservation moving in here, where we had to draw a card, and brown, blue or red would have taken a hit on the unit, left them there disrupted. And Martin then, his comment was, remember that, because I talk about the fact that, okay, we've got 2 units there, but this is 4 steps, so this is going to take the hit. To be honest, Martin, I think when I was mentioning that, I was actually talking Japanese fire. But possibly not, because I was discussing movement under fire, preservation moves as well. So it might well be. Anyway, he pointed out and reminded me, and to be honest, I don't think I'd even looked at it, that movement under fire, you take the hit on whatever unit you want. So I think I already discussed the fact that if I move this as a stack into there, and we draw brown, blue, or red, which is more than likely, then what I would do is leave him, allow him to make the move. He doesn't make the move, takes a step loss and is disrupted, and he stays in that hex. So, and then, but my comment back to Martin was, yeah, okay, I didn't think about that. However, I can't move this as a preservation move stack. This has got an LVT with it. So, and this on top of the other mistake that I made when I joined an LVT into an attack from a free action, I didn't think I could actually do that. It was these two things. I thought, I'm going to have to ask these questions because maybe I'm getting this wrong. And the fact that Martin has said that I can move that as a stack, as a preservation move, I'm thinking, where does it say that an LVT can be? And then I started thinking, right, are these LVTs attached in some way to these units? So it opened up a whole big can of worms, like I've maybe said in the header of this part, or the last part. And right, let's go over my question. And I know, okay, some of you might not be interested in this or not, but well, this is of bigger interest to me trying to play the game. So I'm afraid. What I will put in, I'll put a comment in the header of this part of the video stating the timestamps that I'm just going over this situation, because it is possible that you could have just read my question on BGG, looked at the answer, looked at my response, and thought, right, I don't need to hear Grant going on about it. So I will mark in the header that if you've understood my question and my answer, skip between 13 something and whatever it works, whatever it ends up being. There's a good possibility this might be another one that's not got any gameplay at all, I think, and I might just be able to put that in the header. I know, I had a feeling, and as we got started I thought, not so sure this is going to get any smoother anytime soon. Okay, get the question out, Grant, in case people aren't like looking at your question on BGG and wondering what you're going on about. Right, so question is, are LVTs attached in any way to their infantry company? And then I say, what I mean by that is when an HQ gives a free action to an eligible infantry company, and if that infantry company is stacked with an LVT, would the LVT be eligible for a free action also? I.e., an infantry unit given a free action and stacked with an LVT could move together, right? Or an infantry unit given a free action and stacked with an LVT could attack together. These are things that I didn't consider to be allowed. Now, it did get me wondering, because I thought, well, these LVTs are meant to be transporting them. Sometimes they're transporting them, sometimes they're not. Are they as one? What's the point in moving and leaving it behind? You know, if you've got to give it an action itself, sure, can it not get the free action too? So these are all things that I was thinking. However, in the rule book, of what I've read in the rules, it doesn't certainly say that the answer I got was that's clear in the rule book, not to me. And again, if somebody wants to call me out and tell me the page number, etc., where it tells you all this, I'm happy to have it, and then I'll just stand down off my soapbox. So I said this answer to a previous question from the designer may suggest the LVT adds its point of fire, but maybe isn't even classed as attacking. And it was part of the previous question, LVTs, tanks, what can they do? And one of the answers that Joe came back with was LVTs can add their 1 point of fire to an adjacent hex for each company participating in that attack. So kind of what it's saying there is it adds the 1 strength, but is it even attacking? Would I even turn it sideways like I do? Or does it just automatically add its 1 point? And obviously where was the battle that I got wrong? I want to say it was probably down here. This one here, I think, yeah. This is the one that I used as a free action to attack, right? And the battalion headquarters, have we got that? Yeah, we've got that in screen. And remember, there was a Japanese unit in here at the time, and we were attacking it. And this obviously gives infantry units from its own battalion that is stacked with, and one other infantry unit from the same regiment that it's stacked with, it would give them free moves, right? There's nothing in the rules that tells me that can get a free move with it. I'll read you, I'm about to read it anyway, but 7.1 free actions on page 14. Infantry unit, these are the ones that can get free actions. Number 5, infantry units that are stacked with an infantry HQ unit. That's an infantry HQ unit. That's an infantry unit. That is not. We've already trying to work out what that is. We know it's an LVT. We know it can transport things. We know it's armoured. There's nothing that says it gets a free action. Again, shoot me down and tell me what it is, and I'll hold my hands up and admit defeat. But and this was something that was going to be added to the header of the last video, because I added this 1 strength. Did I not talk about this? Sorry, I added this 1 strength and then thought, oh, I can't add that 1 strength. Yeah, because it was making it 11 rounded up to 6 halved, and that's what done it. But if I don't add that 1, I only get 5 strength, and that wasn't enough to actually eliminate the unit. It was enough to disrupt it. Would have stayed there. However, like I say, there's no point doing that because, well, I've not got to his answer yet, but this is what I'm asking, and I don't see that in the rules. So anyway, let's move on. So he said in the previous question that they can add their 1 point for each company participating in an attack. I still didn't link the two together, that automatically that LVT can add its 1 point if the infantry company's getting a free action. I think it's possible Martin's come round to that, because he's also got the preservation move part of it in his head as well. So this is what worries me, that it's maybe just a Grant thing, but come on. I really don't think it is. I really think it's a rules issue. However, right, let's move on. It says, I said I've still been playing it, that an LVT needs to be given an action to do all the above, but I have been wondering if there may be something into my latest thinking. And by the way, when I posted this comment, the first start of it was, this sounds like a daft question, because I thought this was all daft stuff I was asking here. So, and then carry on. Another move that I had thought about was a preservation move. Could a unit stacked with an LVT make a preservation move together? And then I say, I do think all the above are not legal, but you never know. So I actually believe that none of these are correct. And I actually now think it was after I posted this question that Martin talked about these 2 units moving as a preservation move together. And that's what I'm talking about there. This is an LVT, this is an infantry unit. Right, do you want me to read who can make a preservation move? I think I'm about to read them anyway, but well, there is two parts to this. One is, hang on. Yeah, so there is 2 parts to this, and there is one part here that could explain how Martin believes that can, right? So it says, and this is under free actions again, 7.1. Number 1 is, after all actions have been taken, a disrupted unit, okay, so it's just any unit, it just says a disrupted unit there, may make a preservation move, 7.3.5, instead of recovering from disruption. Okay, that's if it's a disrupted unit. So that could suggest that anything that's disrupted could make that free move, okay? And the other part within free actions is number 7. And just listen to what I'm saying here. It says infantry units, right? Infantry units in a landing beach hex. These units may only conduct a 1 hex preservation move. if they do not qualify for any other free action. And again, you know, it's that to me says that this can make. I mean, if this was disrupted, I could see this being allowed to make the preservation move. Although, as Martin also pointed out to me, you can't make a preservation move into an intense field of fire, so he couldn't actually make that preservation move there if he was disrupted. However, Martin believes that this can move as a preservation move as a stack. I just don't see that in the rules, but then again, he's got that in his head, so it does make me think that I'm maybe reading that part wrong or something. I'm getting something wrong about it if he believes that that's allowed as an action. I don't. It talks about infantry units. If you know, there needs to be more talked about these LVTs. Anyway, okay. So yeah, I do think all the above are not legal. So I actually believe that. But you never know, I've said. And yeah, you never know, because I'm wrong with my thinking of all the above are not legal. They all are legal. I think, yeah, they all were, yeah. Well, we'll get to that. One last thing regarding LVTs, a question asked by a viewer on my YouTube playthrough. If an LVT is transporting an infantry company, is the infantry company allowed to fire? Well, I answered when my thinking is that this is allowed. However, it still feels like a valid question. I suppose it is something that you would wonder about. They're transporting. How can they fire while they're transporting? So we'll get to that. Joe answers that as well. Okay, here we go with the answers then. This obviously needs clarifying. I like to say he came back reasonably quick with the answer, really. So wait a minute. Okay, so Joe's answer. This obviously needs clarifying. Right, 1, he's got them 1, 2, and 3, and 4. I don't think I had them numbered, but well, it's clear. It's quite clear. So, well, number 1's not relevant at all. I don't. In fact, I might as well get my answers together as well. Well, actually, I've not copied and pasted, have I? Have I? No, I've just referenced the numbers. Right, hold on. Yeah, number 1 is really re-answering the same question I'd asked previously. He says an LVT or an LVTA is an AFV. Yeah, I know that. Neither, however, is a tank. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I get that. They're not tanks, yeah. A tank allows infantry and is able by itself to perform infiltration, moving next to a Japanese position to another hex adjacent to that same. Moving next to a Japanese position to another hex adjacent to that same position. Why has got it worded like that? I don't know. That sounds like the old infiltration where you had to move adjacent. According to what I'm reading in this game, you don't have to be adjacent to start with. You just need to be in the field of fire. Please God, don't help me. Tell me I'm missing that as well. No, I don't think so. I think Martin would have said something about that. So yeah, I understand that as well. The tanks will allow movement under fire to go a bit smoother, shall we say. I've not really studied it, but if you're with a tank, if you're with an LVT or an LVTA, it makes no odds. I've got that. You answered that before, and I understand that. No other AFV can do this. Yeah, okay. Remember, the LVTs and LVTAs do not have the armour protection of a tank, or the ability to take advantage of small spots of terrain that might offer defilade to infantry. So yeah, I get that, and that wasn't really my question at all here, but it was from a previous question, but he already answered that, so we can kind of skip by that. Right, so number 2, he's got when not mounting an infantry unit. Okay, so this is when not mounting an infantry unit, and it's got in brackets here, the unit should be stacked directly under the LVT if mounted. So if you're deciding that it's mounted, the LVT should be on top of the actual unit, right? So when not mounting an infantry unit, the LVT gets a free action if it is in command range of a battalion or regimental HQ. Okay. Right. Okay. So, yeah, I'll just read his answer and then I'll read my follow up comment because, it doesn't. I don't know where it says that. That's why. When it is carrying an infantry unit, the infantry unit has to be in command of its appropriate superior HQ, either battalion or regiment. Note that you can move the infantry unit out of command range, but that might be a problem in the next turn. Yeah, okay. The LVTAs operate in command the same way tanks do, assigned to a battalion or regiment and within its command range. So this is saying that LVTAs and tanks can also, they're assigned to a battalion or regiment. So I started looking at the tanks and finding out how they were attached, and does that mean that if they're stacked with a relevant HQ that they can get free moves? I mean, yeah, we've not got to the tanks, but yeah, I suppose. Anyway, let's carry on with this part, because I know regimental HQs are going to offer more free actions. They are going to spread out a little bit and whatever. Anyway, carry on. I would keep all LVTs that are not carrying a unit as the bottom units in a stack. Tanks and LVTAs can be anywhere in the stack as they are not capable of transporting units. Okay, right, fair enough. Then number 3 is, yes, at the beginning or end of transporting an infantry unit, the infantry unit can fire. That's what Stuart's question had been on, I think. And then 4, preservation move. Yes, the stack could move together when doing this. Remember, in all affecting terrain, the LVTs and LVTAs might be more susceptible to breakdown than a tank. So this, just following up on that last one, it means that this would move together. This would move with the LVT. Now, this could be stacked with an LVTA. I'm getting the impression it could be stacked with an LVTA or even a tank and do this preservation move. I mean, when we talk preservation moves as well, I'm looking back on the older games. Now, okay, this isn't an older game, this is a new game. But it doesn't tell me this in the rules. It doesn't tell me that it can move together stacked with a tank or an LVT or an LVTA. And the older rules say it's infantry units only that can make infiltration moves. Preservation moves, sorry. Okay, so, yeah, I hope this helps, Joe. Right. Okay, hi Joe. Number 1, yes, I understand this from the previous answer here, and I'll link the thread where we talk about it. And then number 2, wow, I've totally been getting this wrong then and must be seriously missing something. Does it say this in the rule book? I don't see anything that says LVTs, LVTAs or tanks get free actions. Where in 7.1 free actions does it say this? The only situation I can see that could suggest this would be 7.1 free actions, number 4, which says units that are stacked with or adjacent to the regimental HQ unit at the start of the US action phase. Okay, so this is the only bit that I could see this, and yes, I think I need to look into this a bit more to find out what unit, I mean, these HQs that are about to come on the board, right? This is the 8th Marine Regiment? Yes. This is the 8th Marine Regimental HQ. So, and it's obviously going to come on with some units from the 8th Marines. So you would think that if this was close to this would get a free action. This needs to be in command of this, I think, to give the other ones free actions. And then, yeah, we've got all these from the 8th regiment. So, okay. LVTs and LVTAs have no markings on them at all. You know what I mean? I've just looked at this one here. I mean, it says 1C/715. I mean, what's that? That doesn't mean nothing. So I'm getting the impression that well, I've just been told that I can. It doesn't matter. It can be stacked with that. Now, where's an LVTA? There's one just there. Now that's 1B708A, and then that's the LVT underneath 1C773. And also in actual fact, I moved that as a preservation move, so I might revisit that and move them all because it sounds like these can move too. Also, the other thing I was wondering about was if it was a preservation move, you can only move one hex, can't you? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. However, I mean, when it comes to the tanks, I don't know. Let's just pick. Let's just chuck out 2 tanks here, and one of them's from the 4th division. Now, was I getting it wrong? Is it 2nd Marine Division? Or was I saying it was 1st Marine Division? Because that would make more sense. It is 2nd Marine Division, so I've been calling them out wrong there. Yeah, but I'm just looking again at the LVTs and the LVTAs. There's nothing to suggest that they're from a specific division, let alone a regiment. However, I suppose these tanks, I've got 1C/4T, and this is from the 4th Division. That 4 could be relevant. 4th Tank Division. I don't know, from the 4th Division, 4th Tank. And this is from the 2nd Division, and it's got a 2 there. So, I guess if I look further into command rules, and maybe this is, you know what? If I looked at Martin's questions, he might have some of this as well. If I studied them again, I did look through them all, but there's that many of them that I left it. Sorry, Martin. Okay, so this guy, when he eventually comes on board, and I don't know when that is, I would get the idea that this, well, it's, maybe not. I don't know. This is from the 8th Regiment. It is from the 2nd Division, but can that give that a free action? I very much doubt that can give it a free action. But then I've just read what Joe just said there. What was that? He mentions tanks as well, doesn't he? Yeah. It talks about LVTs at first, and then it says LVTAs operate in command in the same way tanks do, assigned to a battalion or regiment and within its command range. They're actually assigned to one. Does it tell you in the master reinforcement list? I mean, when do these tanks come in? So let me put this back before I get in a muddle here. No, it was that, wasn't it? No, I had it like that, didn't I? That's right, because we've got the headquarters on top. Was that the hex that we're in? I think so. Yeah, so I'm looking at that US Master Reinforcement list. And the first reference to tanks coming into play are game turn 3. And it is in blue 1, 2B4T. Was that not one of the ones we had? So that's actually part of 4, isn't it? 2B4T. There he's there. That's the first one that's going to come in. It's going to come in on blue 1 somewhere in here. So, I mean, that's all it says. And then 2A4T and blue 2 or yellow 1. So, they tanks on their own, I don't know what they're attached to. I don't know. It doesn't say. The following one has this is the 29th Battalion, the 4 units, and there's 3 tanks with it. So whether they're attached, but I don't know how you actually would know that they were attached to them. I don't know. Maybe if I read more into command, this might become a little more clearer. But anyway, right. Let's go back to. Yeah, this video's going to be a whole lot of nothing. Well, it's a whole lot of ranting on about things. So where was I? Yeah, the only situation I can see that could suggest this would be 7.1 free actions. Number 4, units are stacked with or adjacent to the regimental HQ unit at the start of the US action phase. So I'll leave that at that, right? But then I thought, well, in game turn 1, only the battalion HQs are in play. And although you state battalion HQs can give these units free actions, where does it say this? And the only option I can see is 7.1 free actions, number 5. Infantry units are stacked with an infantry headquarters unit. And that should say infantry battalion HQ unit. I know that. There is no mention of non-infantry units. So, yeah. Number 3, what was number 3? Yeah, that's about the transport and then firing. I said, fair enough, that would have been my thinking. And then number 4 is talking about the preservation move. So that gets me going again, because I'm like, right, where is this? So 4, preservation move. Sorry, let me just remind you of the actual question. Preservation move. Yes, the stack could move together when doing this. Remember, in all affecting terrain, the LVTs and LVTs might be more susceptible to breakdown than a tank. Yes, I get that, but that is there, right there, is suggesting that, like I've said, I could be stacked with tanks, LVTs and LVTAs with an infantry unit and make a preservation move, and they all move together. So then, like, again, where does it say this in the rules? Free action states, 1, after all other actions have been taken, a disrupted unit may make a preservation move, 7.3.5, instead of recovering from disruption. And then number 7, infantry units in a landing beach hex. These units may only conduct a 1 hex preservation move, 7.3, if they do not qualify for any other free action. Okay, I guess if it was a disrupted LVT, LVTA or tank, then it looks like number 1 above, but number 7 does state infantry unit. So it does look like if a tank was disrupted, or LVT or LVTA, it could make this. But number 7 says infantry units. So again, this goes back to, well, but if it's stacked with an LVT or an LVTA or a tank, it's allowed to do it. Where does it say it? Where does it tell me this? So, and then, yeah, I finish off with my thinking about it, I suppose. It says, it seems plausible that these LVTs, LVTAs and tanks are attached to certain battalion regiments. And this is where they benefit from these, free actions. But again, I'm not seeing that in the rules. So, you know, it surely would state in the rules, look, if you're ever stacked with an LVT, an LVTA, or a tank, this can happen. If it's stacked with a battalion headquarters, and it can give the whole lot of free action. And if it's a preservation move, they can all move together. That's not there. It's not there. Yeah, I finish with, I'm happy to be made looked daft if it can be shown to me where I would be able to read and understand this clearly in the rulebook. Yeah. Thanks for the swift reply. Please try and answer Martin's follow-up question. Another question he has asked is, he is a far more experienced DD gamer than myself, and I get the feeling he would like to get on with his game. Cheers, Grant. Well, there you go. You know, I'm happy to be told this and understand that and that, but I should be reading this in the rules, or if it is hidden in the rules there somewhere, it shouldn't be the case. Yeah, I probably should have. I wish I'd looked at Martin's question. Well, give me a second. Yeah, just glance at it. Actually, Martin actually noted to me that his first question, titled Tanks, LVTs and LVTAs, Joe's actually copied the part out of that to answer my previous question. Yeah, I thought that was kind of amusing, if you like. There you go. Step 4 of the HQ phase instructs you to assign tank and engineer units to US battalions. What does that entail? So Martin's actually, now I'll tell you what, that's a fair point. the HQ phase. Now that is not something I've looked at. Now here we go then, maybe. Although up to the position I'm at in the game, right? None of this is relevant. HQ phases don't start yet, so I'm going to get out of it if it is in there. Where is the HQ phase? Wait just now. Yeah, I'm struggling to find the HQ phase, so I'm looking at the sequence of play at the beginning. Step 1 is place garrison markers ineligible, and this is skipped on game turns 1 through 4, so it's not relevant to me at the moment. However, it might explain some of this attaching tanks. Well, I say it might explain, but number 2 is convert regimental HQs into command posts. So I get that from the previous games as well. Units in reserve may garner and receive replacement points. Right, that's new stuff, but again, we'll come to that. Number 4, assign tank and engineer units to US battalions. That's Martin's question. What does that entail? And he's right to ask what does it entail, because it's mentioned in the sequence of play and on the sequence track, but there's no... I mean, I'm looking at command posts and garrisons. There's not really a headquarters phase section in the book. I don't see anything about where it tells you about assigning tanks and engineer units to US battalions. So again, as usual, it's a valid question. Yeah, what does it entail? What does that mean? And then R2, number 5 is units in reserve may remove their reserve marker. Don't know what that is. 6, place units into reserve. So yeah, I don't know. Again, this doesn't kick in until turn 5, so you can see that might have some... that might answer some of my questions regarding how tanks are attached to certain battalions and whatever. Also, it says engineering units there too. Okay, let's see if we can find anything else Martin might have asked. It might be relevant to what we're talking about just now. Yeah, one of his questions there is... Just wonder if I should actually run through these. Well, let's not overdo it. I'm guessing the command range of a regimental HQ is 1 hex, as stated in 7.1, and not 2 hexes, as stated in 15.2. Under free actions, in step, it says number 4 is units that are stacked with or adjacent to the regimental HQ. So that's a range of 1. 15.2 says when a CP is established, it commands US units in its hex, and any hexes within 2 hexes. I was going to say it says CP there, Martin, but in brackets it's got the same as a regimental HQ unit. So yeah, whether I just wonder if it once it turns into a command post, does that increase it? But the fact it's got the same as a regimental HQ in brackets there does again make that a relevant question. Let's not read that. Barrage. Right, he's number 14. I think this is stuff that's relevant to what I've been talking about. 10.3 and 7.1. I'm confused about the properties of infantry battalion HQs. 7.1 states that they can give free actions to infantry units they are stacked with. Meanwhile, 10.3 states that an infantry battalion HQ may command units within 3 hexes, and that this may include tanks and engineers. Also, 7.1 doesn't specify infantry units of the same battalion, while 10.3 does, so I'm not sure how to interpret it. Yeah, you and me both. Part of the confusion is that the effects of being in command and out command aren't clearly explained anywhere. Some units, tanks, must be in command to attack, and infantry units in command can use radios, but other than that, I find it difficult to figure out how command really works. 10.3 also says a battalion HQ must be in command of its superior regimental HQ, while 18.2.3, 18.5.3 seem to indicate that this is only true from game turn 5 and on. Either way, I can't see that in the rules that explain what happens if a battalion HQ isn't in command. Does it lose all its capabilities? Then there's control, right, moving on, counter-attack, yeah. Yeah, that's it. And that was well, Joe replied to his questions. I'll get to these in the next day or so, and that was on December the 31st. It's Monday the 9th of January as I'm speaking. Martin followed up on January the 6th. I don't expect you to respond all of them in one post, but I'd appreciate if you could do number 5, 7, 14 and 21, because they are the most urgent. He's trying to go on with his game, isn't he? He's trying to play the game that he's paid a lot of money for, and I don't know why. I mean, to be honest, Joe's, like I say, he's responded to me reasonably, so I don't know why he's... I can only think there's a big chunk of questions at once, and, well, even Martin's followed up by saying, look, don't answer them all right now, but could you maybe look at these, or even pick the first one he said, number 5, just answer number 5, and then when you've got a bit more time, answer the next one. He seems to have time to answer me, but okay. Yeah, I knew this was going to go on a bit. I did. There's some things there, while I've been talking about that and reading that, and also the fact Martin just mentioned there, 10.3 regimental HQs about commanding tanks. See, that it's all very well commanding these things, right? What I want to know is who gets free actions. There's a section, 7.1, it's on page 14. It tells you units may conduct free actions which do not count towards the maximum number of actions allowed. However, a unit may only perform one action per use action phase, even if the action is free. And then a free action may consist of any of the actions listed in 7.0 unless stated otherwise. Units in the following situations may conduct free actions. Yeah, the only one. The number 8 is starting the game turn 5 if units are within command range of either its battalion or regimental HQ. Again, it must be that we've got to assign these tanks to a certain battalion, and that again, that's a question that's needing answered. And the only other one are units that are stacked with or adjacent to the regimental HQ unit at the start of the US action phase. Well, I'm about to, well, not in this part, I'm going to wrap this one up. But as I go into the next part, we're about to land these regimental HQs. And I'm going to need to know... well, I don't know. I mean, the battalion HQs are stacked. So, yeah. So coming back to this, we're going to have to go with this thinking. This battalion HQ was stacked with this. Right, and understand that can get a free action. I didn't think this could. We're being told that this can get a free action. We're being told if this was an LVTA, it could get a free action. And to a lesser extent, maybe, the answers seem to suggest that if it was stacked with a tank, it could get a free action. I get the feeling that this whole attached tanks and engineer units to specific battalions would need to be the case for this to operate that way. From a battalion point of view. Now, when the regimental HQs come on, now they have a slightly better range, because remember, between game turns 1 and 4, the battalion HQs only give free actions and command to units that they're stacked with. Now, we don't need to bother about command, we've talked about that, it runs right through the scenario, we're all in command. But to give free actions, they need to be stacked with. Regimental HQs, as Martin's pointed out, it looks like it should be either stacked or adjacent, so within a range of 1, basically. And that's for the regimental HQs. So how are you going to put that, Grant? Well, what I'm going to do with that is say that when this is on board, anything from the 23rd Marine Regiment, okay, if it's stacked with or adjacent to that, it's going to get a free action. I'm also going to say that any LVT and LVTA within that 1 range is going to get a free action. I can only go with that. That's what I'm going to have to... And once we get tanks on board, hopefully by then, we might find out about how they get attached to certain battalions. Well, the other one is the engineers, actually. Yeah, so I might need to know that sooner, because we've just landed engineer units. Let me see, where is an engineer? Okay, there's an engineer. It landed in this hex here, but I've just taken him out. This guy's got a step loss. C4E. So I would suggest it's... Yeah, I mean, it can't mean it's from any... 4th Division, which has got the V4 anyway. Apart from that, is there any other engineers that haven't landed yet, maybe, that I can see? No, just infantry and tanks. So nothing from that C4E tells me. So, what do I do? How do I give that? Can I give that a free action? And what can I give it with? These regimental HQs? None of that really says. And it'd be the same with the tanks, really. Until we get them, I think that's what we need to do. We need to get them attached. But how do we do that? What does it entail? Yeah, good question. Right, okay, I'm going to wrap this up. And I'm not going to need to put comments about don't watch between blah, blah, blah and blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to say, look, this is another one of the parts where it's just try to work things out, really. Yeah, it's not good, or I'm some kind of fool that's not grasping things. What does concern me, like I said to you, was that Martin was under the impression that this could make a preservation move with its LVT. So that does make me wonder that there's something that tells you that somewhere. Okay, right, well, rant over, I think, and I'll just cut this because this is going to be over an hour now, and people can view it if they wish. I find it relevant, unless by the time before I get this uploaded, I get some response that points me to somewhere in the rulebook, and then you might not see this episode, you might not see this part. I might just wipe it out and say, oh, okay, and start again and say, right, okay, I'm not really sure that's going to happen, to be honest. I don't feel very confident that I'm going to be told that and find it out, but you never know, I suppose. Okay, so sorry, there's no gameplay yet again. I will comment in the header to anybody that does not, has no interest in this and wants to see the game moving on. Apologies, I want to be moving on with the game too. I've just had an hour there to be able to record something, and I could have just ignored it and started landing my units and got on with it, but no, that's not the way I do things. I need to understand that. I need to put these videos out there, so some people I do get a lot of comments, and I do get brought up for certain mistakes. I'm not going to say I'm faultless, absolutely not. These games are challenging, and I've noticed some mistakes myself, like I say in that game, tacking it in the woods and whatever, so I try and watch them back before I release them. I generally do that 99% of the time. Occasionally I'll chuck a video out there without reviewing it because I want it to be put out there. To be honest, this could be one of them because I've not actually moved any units, so I might actually just chuck this one out there. That's probably a good idea. Okay, I'll leave it for now and be back with part 10 and hopefully get turn 2 moving. Because I think we can move on. I dare say we don't really know about the engineers, but we can just leave them and just assume they don't get any free actions until they get attached to a battalion or something. Because it does say that doesn't start till game turn 5, I think. Right, got away for now and be back soon, guys. Cheers.